Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for 1 bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Group Therapy. It's Kirk Henderson. It's about 9:15 on Sunday, January 8th, for those listening on the recording. I hope everyone is getting their sleep, because the Mavericks won't even started playing their game on Tuesday by this point in the evening, because they head out on a West Coast road trip and they play a bunch of road games. For those of you who watched tonight's effort, the Mavericks playing on the second night of a back-to-back. They won home against New Orleans last night, headed out on the road against against Oklahoma City, right up 35. And without Luka, who they opted to sit, at least around noon, I think is when I noticed that. It was going to be an interesting effort from the get-go, because this team was 0-3 without Luka. They fell to 0-4. Which was really, not entirely surprising. They hit their first 4 threes of the game, and looked like they were maybe going to run away with things. And then the 3 stopped falling. They only hit 10 of their next 35 attempts, and it was just one of these games where the Mavericks were they did not have the best player out on the floor. That went to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is an incredible driver, who just basically torched the Maverick defense, opened up everything all night long. The Mavericks defense has been pretty bad for a while now, but I think all of us knew that. When you're playing without a number of your best defensive players, it's kind of hard to get mad at defense, because none of the players out on the floor are particularly good at anything, at least on the defensive side of things. So, if you're irritated at this loss, I 100% understand why, because you're marching up the Western Conference. You're 4th in the West, closing in. Winning tonight would have put them a half game closer to the 3 seed. Instead, they fell, which is frustrating. I very much understand that. In the chat, before we start bringing folks up on stage, Tobias asks, do I think that they're going to make a move soon? The team is not so great. Neither is the entire conference. And I at the moment, I sort of hope they don't do anything that they don't feel. If they do something, I hope it's not out of need, is where I'm at. Because if you can get through the next 40 games, playing 500, maybe winning 55% of your games, you do that. You take a playoff spot in the top 6 and you just go home. That's sort of where we are. I do have a trade roundup column posting in the morning, just of all the trade rumors that we've seen since early November, including ones the last couple of days. That my most favorite recent one was that the Cavs were interested in Tim Hardaway Jr., which would really be something. Ethan mentions it in the chat for Karis LeVert. If you guys think you don't like watching Tim Hardaway play sometimes, boy, howdy would Karis LeVert make all of you mad. But this is it's kind of a weird season. I think we got to kind of get used to that feeling. As Tobias notes, LeVert is an expiring contract, which is probably the appeal from the Mavericks in that regard. But they're so far over the cap. It's kind of frustrating heading into next year. So if you want to come up on stage, talk about anything you saw in the game tonight. I was not moved by anything. We saw our hero and fun guy last night, Jaden Hardy, play, a number of minutes. I was joking before the game, I think he had 6 assists prior to the game all year, and he had 2 tonight. You got to go out there with Davis Bertans, hit some shots. This was just sort of one of these games where there's not much to be mad at, other than the fact that it's just a reminder that the Mavericks are very, 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 very Luka top heavy. And that's sort of where I am on things. Let's see here. We got one caller already. Hi, Max. How are you? Welcome.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, I was just thinking that one pro is I guess this helps Luka's MVP case because they just could not beat a below 500 team, and they just really struggled to score after those first 5 or 4 minutes the entire game.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't make sense that defense gets worse without Luka too, because that's a thing that has happened.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, I didn't realize how small is it McKinley, right?
Yeah, he's 5'11".
Yeah, so it's just tough when you don't have Luka, and Dinwiddie can only do so much,
Yep.
Yeah, well, disgusting to watch. And then this is before the Cowboys game for the Cowboys fans, and that game was even worse.
Just a rough afternoon for Dallas-based sports. Yeah, it's just you see the difference in shot quality. The only guy that really is able to do anything on his own is Christian Wood. I mean, to a certain degree, Dinwiddie can, but it's not great. Yeah, the offense is just kind of grindy.
Yeah, but hopefully we get Josh Green back, and it'll just be, I think, just for people to stay optimistic. It'll be cool to see Hardy and maybe Green share the court together.
I'd like to see that. Maybe they can make Luka push the ball a little bit. That'd be fun.
Yeah, but that's all I got. Everybody else, stay optimistic.
Thanks, Max. All right, talk soon. Let's see here. We got my man Ewan. How you doing, buddy? If I could actually press the button to bring you up on stage. There we go.
Hey, what's up?
Just here this evening. What's going on with you?
Yeah, I sat through that whole game and I watched it. It's kind of like we set it as a loss already. It's tough having a superstar like Luka, 23 years old, and he has to sit back to back. That's.
I think it's less about the back to back and more about the fact that they go on a road trip that's gonna be pretty intensive. Where you think maybe without Luka you could beat the Thunder, but without Luka, could you beat any of the Clippers, Lakers, or Portland? And in my mind, the answer to that is no.
Well, yeah, you're right on that part. I look at it as if you kind of have it as a pencil loss in a way. You just hope for the best that somehow we can get something done. And it's like, all right, Hardy gets in, he gets some minutes, and he's with Spence, and it's like Spencer just pounding the rock. He's just pounding the rock, and he's not moving it. He pounds it all the way down to the shot clock, gets down to 5 seconds, and he do a step back and stuff like that. And it's like you try to do some of the stuff that Luka does, but you just can't. You're not that skilled, you're not that gifted, so you can't kind of in the same way run the same exact offense because he does so much at the end of the clock with creating, and he's such a tough shot maker. It just is impossible to copy. So you can't kind of in the same way run the same exact offense of pounding the ball and hoping the last minute you make a good pass because it's just not going to work.
I tend to agree with that. It's one thing when you're going against bench units and you can, Spencer draws a lot of fouls. He gets a lot calls just because of his length, but I would like for them to run more sets. It's not these guys understand basketball. You can draw up plays and have regular plays in the playbook that aren't Spain pick and roll. I mean, Celtics there's one play that just is stuck in my head since we played the Celtics, where they had like basic. I don't remember what the off ball action was outside of the fact that Tatum like basically sliced down the middle of the lane from one of the other elbows, got the ball and scored, and just because of the screen setting going on and the off ball action, they might run stuff like that 5 to 10 plays a game, and it's different. I would like them to try to run more offense. Like they got to get, in my opinion, I would like for them to get Christian Wood in a little bit more of a playmaker role that isn't isolation based. Like, let him do some different stuff. He's a good player.
Correct. Yeah, and it's like those same situation where Wood has like how it been the whole season. He gets a smaller guy. Somehow he still have those offensive fouls, turnovers, and he still mishandles the ball. He had those a few plays where he overpowers the guy. But personally, it's like I feel like he needs some more physicality to him. That's what I feel is missing from the Maverick team. A little bit more physicality. Is like he's I'm not like harping. Follower was saying on the broadcast like he's not really like a great rebounder. He just, he jumps a little bit quick. He has long arms. So he's not really beating you by like boxing out or, being strong enough. It's just his length pretty much. That's what's, having him win those advantages. Yeah. And I just feel like he just needs to be, I don't know. I feel like some more physicality would be good. I'm not saying necessarily from him, but just from somebody else other than Luka, like, because pretty much Luka could just play bully ball all day.
Well, the crazy part, how many free throws do you think the Mavs shot? Do you know the answer?
I know in the first quarter we had over like 10 in the first quarter. I'm not sure.
For the game. So the Mavericks were getting to the line. It's just they didn't. I mean, of course, they missed 9. They missed 9 during a game when that's a 11-point differential. It would have been enough. I mean, they gave up so much in that second quarter. That's where things kind of really got out of hand. And it's just tough. You get when you're missing 3 starters or 3 rotation guys, depending on what you consider green, at some point it's gonna catch up with you. And the Mavericks have gone on this 8 of 10 stretch with all those guys hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And lastly with OKC, it's like they have a farm factory of young players. Sure. It's just like you just see somebody comes in and they just have some kind of ability. If it's athleticism, a shooter, just like where do you find these guys at? It's like if there's a team that you want to kind of swindle, try to get a little player from that's young, that might have some potential, they have the team to do it. And if they make a big swing down the line, they can get a superstar because they have picks and they have young assets to make pair SGA with someone else. So.
I feel like they just extended Kenrich Williams. And that guy, I'm guessing that because I think it means he can't be traded. But that dude feels like the kind of guy that could play on any really good team.
That's the light. That's
he's
the
one
light
who put Christian Wood face first in the fourth quarter.
No foul.
Yeah. he's feisty. And then they got the 2 Williamses, which is never confusing, but only one of them, Jalen Williams, is the one who played tonight. They got all the interesting players. Somebody in the chat asked earlier, I feel like Lou Dort only hits threes against the Mavericks. And let me just check. His regular season stats are up to 35%. So not anymore, but I will say when the Mavericks played the Thunder in the early part of the season, when they had that horrendous meltdown, he was shooting 19% from 3. I remember that very clearly. So I understand why you feel that way.
They were saying the last 5 games he's shooting over 55%. So I guess he's getting 55% from 3.
It's like he's built in a 2K factory where it's just like, how can I get this like a weird? Because he's building a linebacker. He's enormous, big guy. Ugh.
Yeah, and Josh Giddey he's a smart player. Josh Giddey, for whatever reason, it's just like we have like NBA players, but we don't have a lot of high IQ players like really outside of Luka,
Well, we don't have anybody that can dribble. I think all these guys are pretty damn smart, but nobody's going to do anything. If you can't dribble, if you can't attack off the dribble, I think is the better way to phrase it, then it ultimately doesn't matter. I mean, that's where like Jaden Hardy got everybody so excited last night because he was breaking people off doing dribble moves, which we tend to only see Luka do that. And Spencer, to a degree, but Spencer has these like weird, like just proportions where his arms are so big. And he doesn't so much break people down as he just like slides by people. So when you watch these guys that do different stuff off the dribble, it's like, oh, that'd be neat if we had that skill set.
Yeah, but I'm excited for these games, this road trip. LA, Portland, a lot of primetime players over there. So this should be entertaining. So we'll see how.
That's right. This start time we're going to end you. I don't know how you're going to stay up.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be able for any of those.
This stuff sucks. Like I don't know how I did this for years and years, but man, it's going to be brutal. 9:30. So 10:30 your time on Tuesday, 9:30 Central, and then they go 9 on Thursday, which I can deal with that because that means I'll just go to work like a zombie on Friday. That's fine. And then they play Portland back-to-back Saturday, Sunday at 9 8 Central Time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a zombie all week. So depending on how the game goes, I might be able to stay up for one, but I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
But
no,
hopefully some wins, and I'll be able to really pull that through. And
I'm feeling bullish, man. I'm not a positive guy, and I just have a feeling things are just gonna break right for them this road trip, and then really the rest of January. I've been looking ahead on the schedule a little bit. March is when things get really funky. March has they play the Grizzlies 3 times, play Golden State a couple of times. I think it's going to be fun that month. But the trade deadline is a month from tomorrow, so we might be looking at a different team at some point.
And it's wild that we're really in the position that we have. As much as we feel like the season has been so bad,
that's why it's like I just said that on that show I did with Josh. It's like I cannot get pissed about this. I just can't because it's a month ago when they were flirting with 500, that Timberwolves loss was the kind of low point for the season. Luka got ejected, looked at Tubby. Shout out to Jason Kidd for getting a technical tonight. That was random. Of course, he did it when Luka's not there. That was lovely. So.
All right, man.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. I'll be looking into the other guy.
Okay, we got one more request. Krishna, what's up, buddy? Give him a second. Find that unmute button. Yeah, I was not really into this game. Not really been into the whole day, if I'm going to be honest with everybody. Something about this weather just got me feeling a little funky.
Sorry about that.
Which season it is. Hey, man, what's up?
Doing okay. As soon as you knew that Luka wasn't playing, it was always going to be pretty tough.
Right.
I think so. I don't know. There's not much to say. I think, the Hardy stuff we can be really reactionary about, but I think it's sort of to be expected. I think part of the reason Hardy has been really successful, and I think a lot of this team has been successful, is just it's easy to forget how much space Luka creates on the floor at all times. And when you have that kind of space, you have the ability to drive and finish a lot better. It's going to help you. And I think the length of OKC and just, they're young and they're really athletic. It's always going to hurt you. And it's not like Hardy, I'm not going to say he played a great game, but I'm also not going to.
Well, did you like the process? Like the results are one thing, but did you like the kind of shots he took?
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing, right, is that it didn't look bad.
Yeah.
And he also made interesting decisions. Like, he had that under the basket kind of
like that one.
Drop off,
I think,
right?
right?
Yeah, and those are things that, we don't see from anyone other than like Luka or really Josh.
I mean, Spencer always tries to pass, but then it's like, oh no, Spencer.
Yeah, and I don't think it's even Spencer's fault. Like, I think kind of this whole season we've seen Spencer was so good in that third guard role because that third guard role was really just about scoring.
Yeah.
And that benefited him a lot because he's never been a great playmaker. Like, even when he was really successful in Brooklyn, part of the reason he was so successful was he always played with another guard, whether it was LeVert or Russell, and that kind of also elevated the other guy. And I think Spencer has kind of struggled in that sense, though he's still shooting okay from three, a lot better than career averages. So it's tough, but I think the two things are like Hardy was not as great as he has been, but I think Luka affects that. But the other real positive, I think, is Christian Wood. He finally, I feel like, played a game where there's not a traditional center, and he kind of been struggling with not necessarily guards, but the wing types. And, I feel like it was mentioned in the Mavs Moneyball recap is just that OKC doesn't ever play with a traditional center. Like, if they had Chet, they probably would. Like, that'd be the closest thing. But, Jalen Williams is not a center, but he's going to get a lot of those center minutes. And it was good to see him do things well and the process well and shoot well. But obviously the defense is just, it's just not been there. And that's clear when you're missing your three best defensive players.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of where I end it. I mean, I like one of the things Josh Bowe just said on our podcast that I think is worth thinking about as we get deeper into the season is that as far as Wood is concerned, the scouting report on him is probably to try to make his aggressive nature backfire. He's getting some offensive fouls and guys are kind of sliding into him and he's attacking so much that it's almost working against him in some sections. I thought that was interesting and worth maybe paying attention to the next couple of games, which I don't have any concerns because I think that Wood's the kind of offensive player that can adjust to what he's seeing. Defensively, completely different story, but nobody on this team is really a good defensive guy. So yeah, I think it's best to just sort of, chalk this one up to annoying that they lost, understandable that they lost, and then hope that, they can get it back and continue their climb in the West.
I think so. And I think this is a Pacific road trip. And, you look at a lot of the Pacific teams, they do have more traditional centers or they try to play with bigger guys. How successful those players are is a different story.
Like I'm looking forward to like Thomas Bryant trying to do something. Like
Thomas Bryant will be interesting. Even Zubac. Like I think Zubac is a good player, but
Zubac's going to give us that becomes the simple question of does Luka feel like taking his soul? That's the
exactly.
That's it. That's the only answer.
And I don't. Are we playing the Kings on this road trip?
No.
I have not checked. Okay, I was going to say because if we're playing the Kings, Sabonis might be an interesting one because Sabonis is kind of like I put him as like a lower level Jokic. Or he does a lot of the playmaking, but he's just not as he's not as good of an offensive threat all the time as Jokic is. But he's also a very big defensive liability. So I think that's the thing I'm really interested to see, right? Like how does Christian Wood match up against someone like that? Because
sure,
he didn't do obviously with Jokic, Maxey was there, so that definitely helps, but. It'll be interesting to see what happens then. But I think these next two games, with the Lakers and the Clippers, we've seen them play well against both those teams just because of how the whole team overall matches up. And having Luka will help. So not a terrible night. It's not the worst loss, right? I think that's the important thing. So, yeah, hopefully everyone has a good night.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having up. We'll talk soon. Okay, so I don't know how. So I'm going to do lives, all 4 games. We'll figure something out. Though they will be late. So we will see, how this goes. Might be shorter ones like tonight. I don't mind short 20, 25-minute shows. I always like talking as long as you guys are willing, which is why sometimes these things go 2 hours. Go check out Mavs Moneyball. We are always writing stuff. I think by the time this posts on Monday afternoon, all the things will be up from Monday. And then I know for Tuesday, we got at least 2 or 3 things working. So check out the website. Everybody, thank you for hanging out. Get your rest because it's going to be a late night sort of week. Everybody be good. And we will talk soon. Thanks so much. Bye, guys.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.